Today's question is it safe to invest with the coming recession? The answer to that is yes and no. Depends on how you want to work this thing. If you know what I know, absolutely it is safe. If you are going in blind and you're going to follow the masses, probably not. So I think it was Warren Buffett who said when everybody else is leaving a building, you should be going in, and vice versa. And that's exactly what's going on. Why do I think it's safe? And actually more than safe, it's profitable to invest during a recession. Well, the number one reason is there's more motivated sellers. You have a lot of properties out there that become available, and these properties, typically the motivated sellers want to get rid of these things. They're more interested and they're more concerned about next month's $926.17 payment than they are about walking away from $80,000 of equity. Now, my theory, and I've been in this thing for 23 years, is that it is better to be able to get a property in a recession because it's going to be easier, B, there's going to be more equity in it, and C, there'll be more rental margin in it. You're also, in the case of this coming recession, going to be able to buy properties that have low interest rates on them. In some cases, if you use one of our 15 methods to buy or 15 methods to sell, you're going to be able to buy them subject to or with some low-cost seller financing. This is going to create a lot of opportunities for you. In addition to more sellers out there, there's more buyers and there's more renters. So it is literally the perfect storm. Now, I've told this story before, but back in 2006, there was a 9-month window that was very similar to what we've got today. And during that window, a lot of sellers, a lot of desperate sellers with equity, and a lot of desperate sellers with low payments on their properties. And during that 9-month period of time, we were able to buy a number of properties, all of which made over $100,000 per deal. Now, it was a short period of time, like I said, 9 months. And so these perfect storms come every 7 to 15 years, depending on your cycle. This is 15 years later now, basically. We're delayed a year because of COVID, but we're in that cycle right now. And you can make money, is my contention, today, November of 2022. There's at least a dozen of those 15 ways to make money today. So, for example, in my housing businesses, we're rehabbing right now. All the rehabbers have left, or the vast majority of them. A lot of the wholesalers are going broke because there's no rehabbers to buy their properties. In fact, as a buddy of mine in Los Angeles described it, and he's a rehabber, he said last year he had 3 wholesalers, each offering him 2 properties per month, and he was taking all of them. Today, each of those 3 rehabbers is offering him 4 properties, so he's got 12 to choose from, but he's only picking 1. He's more cautious with his money. He's more cautious as to what he does. Of course, Los Angeles is a more volatile market than most of the country, and it is dropping faster accordingly. So, there is more opportunity out there in the rehab portion of the business, which we're in right now. The key to being successful in rehab in a down market is to buy at the right price and to be able to forecast. Number 2, to be able to forecast into the future to see what the prices are going to be. So, for example, we're buying properties now where the comps may be $150,000, but we believe that in 90 or 120 days, when we're ready to put that property back on the market, that the market will be only $135,000. And so as long as we do our beginning purchase based on the 135 and then bring our purchase price down accordingly, add a little safety margin of error in there, and add a little bit extra for the fact that inflation is really costing us in the rehab business a lot more money to do. As long as you factor those things in, it's a no loss situation. It's a 100% win. It's just a matter of how quick you win. Do you want to win in 90 days, 120 days, 150 days, that type of thing. Now, do you need money to do that? Yeah, you got to have some cash to do that. But once again, there's now a lot more cash lenders out there, hard money, private money, these types of folks that have the availability of funds, because once again, 8 or 9 out of every 10 rehabbers a year or 2 years ago are no longer in the game. In fact, a lot of the sellers are these rehabbers who have a number of properties. And by the way, just to break this down so everybody kind of understands the size and the scope of the market, there's about 800,000 to a million, or there has been 800,000 to a million homes that were flipped in the last 12 months as a result of investors who do that type of business. So there's about 1 million homes or so that were involved, but there are 28 million homes in the US that are owned by landlords, absentee, I don't live here type properties. So the size of the landlording market is 28 times bigger than the size of the flipping market in terms of overall volume. Those landlords, some of them are desperate and they need to sell because they're having financial problems. Things like death, divorce, taxes, bankruptcy, job loss, medical issues, family issues, having to move, that type of thing. And those folks are selling too, but they're also buyers. So a lot of buyers today, they're loading up on properties because there's a good margin in the rental business. Rents are starting to come down, but not all the way across the country. So you're seeing more buyers from that rental pool buyer or the landlord buyer. They're adding to their rental fleets. There are still a ton of buyers out there right now who would love to be able to buy in this market. But if you were to read the news, the mainstream media, they'll tell you that these buyers can't afford 7-8% interest. Generally, that's true. But there are a ton of ways for you to develop a model that sells and buys down their interest rate so that they don't have to pay 7% interest or 8% interest. So for example, you could go out there and you could buy down somebody's points and you could offer a new home, brand new, totally rehabbed home for sale at 4% interest. And you could advertise it like that because you're buying down the 7 to the 4 for them, making an affordable rate for these folks. And you'd be the only game in town. You'd have your properties being overbid and selling very quickly. Our average rehab time has been about 60 days, 30 to 60 days, but our average days on market the last 5 months for my business is 1 day. In fact, we had 2 of them sell in less than 1 day before they even put on the market. And all except one of them got overbids. But we're doing that type of option for these sellers. And so we're getting all the sellers to come to our properties and buy these properties. And you guys can do the same thing too. We teach all of these methods, and I can explain more in detail. This is kind of a short video here, but part of what we do is to teach you guys how to take advantage of these 15 ways to buy and sell, some of them using, actually most of them using little to no of your own money, and turn this into a very profitable business. This industry still remains the only one, in my opinion, where you can start as an individual today, and a year from now, you could be a millionaire. And you can't do that in almost any other industry in this country right now, especially during a recession. So take my advice, like and follow this video, and we'll get you more information on how to do this.